Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Kensthetic, and I'm here with you guys today with a new video. In today's video, we are going to be reviewing the Sony A5100 as well as providing you guys with pros, cons of this camera. We're going to get into all of the and I also want to show you guys how I play around with the settings when it's time for me to take videos on this camera, when it's time for me to take pictures on this camera. I want to get into all of that with you guys, but before we get started, do not forget to subscribe as well as give this video a big thumbs up if you like it, if you found it helpful. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So this is my Sony A5100, and I'm recording this video off of my Canon 80D using a Sigma lens. So this is my OG camera. This is a camera I started off my YouTube channel with, and when I posted my filming area video on YouTube, I'll go ahead and link it above in the cards in case you guys did not see that video. But I mentioned that I use the Sony A5100 to record all of my videos, and a lot of people were asking me questions like, how do you do the settings when you record? How do you use the camera? Why did you purchase this camera? So first, I want to walk you guys through some pros and cons of the camera. So the first pro for me, when I purchased this camera, I purchased it more with the intention of vlogging because I thought I was going to be doing more vlogging on my channel. So the first thing that took my attention was this flip up screen. So the screen flips up like so that if you are recording from the front, you can see. I'm just gonna cover the screen for now because your girl is looking crazy. But that was the first pro of the camera for me, the flip up screen. The second pro for me was autofocus. So this camera has amazing autofocus if you have it in the right settings, and you don't have to ever worry about, oh my god, am I focused? Oh my god, like, is the camera focused on me? Just because the autofocus on this camera is so great. The next pro is that you can change the lens on this camera. So a lot of smaller cameras, such as like the Canon G7X, which a lot of people use for vlogging, you cannot change the lens on that camera. So the fact that I was able to change the lens on this camera was a big pro for me. So the second lens that I have for my Sony A5100 is a Sigma 30mm f1.4 contemporary lens. I'll go ahead and link that down below. But I love the fact that I can change the lens on this camera because the secondary lens that I have is better in low lighting, and it's also better for like depth to field effect. The next pro of the camera for me is the fact that this camera is Wi-Fi enabled, meaning that I can connect it to the respective Sony app if I do want to take pictures off of my camera right away and like send them to friends, or I do want to take a picture from my camera and like post it on my Instagram or whatever. I do have that ability. And the next pro was that it came in two colors. So it came in white, it came in black. I really wanted the white because I think the white is very pretty, but I was just like, me knowing myself, the white is not going to stay white, so let me not play myself and go ahead and get the black. And the last pro for me, I don't know if I said the previous one was my last pro, but this is my real last pro, was the price of this camera. So I purchased this camera during Black Friday, and I probably paid about $480, as I remember off the top of my head, for this camera. And it basically came with the camera body and this this lens that it has on right now, a 16-50 lens. So that's basically what it came with. So now that we're done with the pros, I'm gonna go ahead with the cons. So the cons is that the audio on this camera is not great. So one pro comparing the Sony A5100 to the Canon G7X is that the Canon G7X has a better ability to pick up forward audio versus the Sony A5100, which basically takes up everything and doesn't detect like what should be the forward audio, what should be the background audio. So the audio on this camera is not really great. In sit down settings, when I am sitting down and recording a video, at first I was like, oh, the audio is fine. But then when I listen to my videos and I compare it to other people who I know have like mics or have the ability to connect the mic, I'm like, yeah, the audio on this camera isn't really too great. It kind of sounds like screechy at times. I don't know if you guys noticed in like my older videos. The next con is that you cannot connect a mic to this camera. Based on the inputs that this camera has, it doesn't give you an option to connect a mic to this camera. So that was a turn off for me, and I didn't realize that until after, when I started getting serious with my YouTube and I was doing research like, why does my audio sound like this? And the fact that I couldn't connect a mic was a turn off for me, just because after I did research, you know, most people were saying like they use a mic, and I'm like, damn, I can't even use a mic to record. So that was definitely a con for me. The next con, which is a huge one for me, is that it overheats. So if you are sitting down recording and your clip gets to around like 8 to 10 minutes, the camera does overheat and shut off. So I always have to like record in clips, which I got used to after a while. But then after I started using my Canon 80D, I'm just like, yo, I've been missing out. I don't have to like reach over and stop and begin a clip every 5 to 6 minutes to make sure that my camera doesn't overheat. And then when it does overheat, you have to like turn off all your lights and let it reset for about 5 minutes, which is annoying, especially when you're on like a time constraint to record a video. The next con of this camera, it's a con for me whenever I'm taking pictures, is that this is a crop sensor camera, and I'll show you guys what that means real quick. So I'm gonna dumb this down, because at first I'm just like, I don't know what the hell this means. So here in the viewfinder, we see that we have my my little sit down mirror to the wall in the frame, but then when you take a picture, it crops out like the sides of the frame. So it is crop sensor, so when I am taking pictures with this camera, it does tend to get kind of annoying, but I got used to it after a while. But now that I have my Canon 80D, I feel like I'm kind of spoiled now, but you know, whatever. And the last con of the Sony A5100 to me is the fact that you cannot connect this camera to a monitor. So let me, you know, bring it down to Dummies 101. But basically, with my Canon 80D, since it connects through Wi-Fi, I have the ability to connect it to my laptop, so I can look at my laptop screen and see exactly what the camera is showing on a larger screen. And for people who are blind like me, it helps a lot, just so that I can see, and my focus is what I'm showing in the frame, etc. But with the Sony A5100, the only thing that I had was the little viewfinder here on the camera, so that did get annoying at times, especially when I was recording without my contacts, because in case y'all don't know it, your girl is blind. But that's basically the last con for me. A lot of people also complain about the battery life of this camera. However, I do have 5 batteries for my Sony A5100, and they are charged most of the time. Like as you guys can see here, this camera is dying, and I'm just gonna go ahead and pop in another battery that I had previously charged. But since the batteries for this camera are so cheap, I'll go ahead and put the price on the screen, because I don't remember off the top of my head. But it does make it easy for you to just drop some extra batteries in your bag in case you don't know if you're in charge, or you ain't had time to charge last night. Because me personally, I'm terrible at charging electronics, my phone, cameras, everything. So the fact that I was able to get 4 extra batteries for this camera, because it does come with one, that was a plus for me. So the battery life really wasn't a problem for me. I feel like a battery probably lasts me, if I'm going out like all day and I'm like vlogging or recording, it lasts me about like 16 hours maybe in total. So the battery life wasn't really a problem for me, so I wouldn't really say that was a con. But if you guys watch other videos about the Sony A5100, a lot of people will list that as a con. But those are basically all of my pros, all of my cons of the Sony A5100. Overall, I did believe that it was a great camera for me to get started with. It was just an easy camera to navigate, an easy camera to use. And now that I have my Canon 80D, which is more advanced, I have like the basic skills. So from there, I'm just like building up to see and to explore what else I need to know. So now we can move into the second segment of the video, which will cover most of the questions you guys had, as far as how do I adjust the settings on the camera, how do I know which settings to use, etc. So let's go ahead and get started. So basically on the camera, you have these toggles up here. So this is the on and off switch. This is the camera to start recording videos, and then you have this zoom toggle right here. So I'm just going to go ahead and flick this to turn it on. And another pro of this camera is that it also has a flash, which you basically press this button right here and it pops up. So I usually use a flash in some of my pictures. I don't really use a flash that often, but now the camera is on. Ooh, my battery just died, y'all. Okay, so I changed my battery and we're back in business. As you guys can see, 100% this battery is fully charged. So as I mentioned before, the battery life is not a problem at all to me. But for the settings of the Sony A5100, I usually keep my camera in manual. I haven't really experimented with other settings, which is a good and a bad thing. With the manual setting, you can customize your settings. So you can customize your ISO, your aperture, and your shutter speed, which we're going to go through each and every one of those things. So to demonstrate this, I'm just going to start recording on my Sony A5100 so that the camera doesn't fall asleep. But I also want to demonstrate again the crop sensor effect when it comes to video, because I showed you guys in camera mode when I was taking a picture earlier. So as you guys can see, we can see like midway through this picture up here and the bottom of the radiator. But then once I start recording, it kind of just does like an automatic zoom. So that's what I mean by a crop sensor camera. So down here on the Sony A5100, you can see the shutter speed, you can see the aperture, and then you can see the ISO right here. So when it comes to settings on the Sony A5100, I adjust these three things in order to get the desired exposure that I want. So I think that exposure and lighting are two things that basically impact the quality of your photos, of your videos. As you guys probably saw in my filming setup video, I do have two soft boxes and a ring light, which helps me get the lighting that I need for my photos and my videos that I take at home. So the exposure triangle, which a lot of people like to refer to the ISO, the aperture, and the shutter speed as, is basically how you control the exposure that you have in your videos and your pictures. So the first thing that we're going to start off with is the ISO. So the ISO, which is noted here, right now we have it on 250, is the camera sensitivity to light. So the ISO is usually the last thing that I adjust when I'm customizing the settings that I want for my videos or my pictures, and that is just because if it's too high, then you get a grainy image. So on the A5100, how you adjust the ISO is you hit this right button here, and then here gives you the options of ISO. So the lower you have the ISO, the darker the quality is, and then the higher you have it, the more light that is exposed within the frame of the video or the image. So usually when people are taking pictures or videos, the first thing that they want to adjust is the ISO, because they're like, oh my god, I need the picture to be brighter, I can't really see myself, or oh my god, there's too much light, I need to make it darker. So I would recommend the ISO to be the last source of exposure that you touch, just because if it is too high, you can get a grainy image in your picture, in your video. So the next element is the aperture, which is also called the f-stop. So the aperture is how you control the brightness of the image that passes through your lens and falls on your image sensor. So the lower it is, the more depth of field that you can have. So as you guys can see in this frame, the focus is on my camera and everything else in the background is blurred out. And if you are someone who's looking for that effect on your pictures or your videos, you want to be super mindful of the aperture. So on the Sony A5100, the way that you adjust the aperture is that you press the down button until the font of the F with the following number is orange. That means that you are selected on this, and anything that you do is going to adjust the f-stop or the aperture. So once the font is orange, and then you just go ahead and toggle the buttons over here to make it either lower or higher. And as you guys can see, as I'm making it lower, there's more brightness in the frame of the camera, and then when I do make it higher, then we get more of a darker image. So when I am adjusting my camera to get the desired lighting that I want, I usually start off with the aperture, and then I'll move on to the shutter speed. So the shutter speed is the amount of time that the shutter of the camera is going to be open. So for me, I mainly use my Sony A5100 to create videos. So with the shutter speed, you always want to make sure that it's not too low, because if it's too low, then you'll get like a blurry or a slurred video visual. And if it's faster, it's better for moving images. So just to provide you guys with the metaphor of the exposure triangle, say for instance you have a window and your window got shutters on it. Okay, you live in a nice fancy big house, you got all your windows with shutters on it. So the aperture is essentially the size of the window. So the bigger that the window is, the more light that will come in through the window, the more light that will come into your rooms. So you do want the window to be bigger if you want more sunlight to come into your home. The shutter speed is the length of time that you have the shutters of the window open. So the longer that you have the shutters of the window open, the more light that will come into your room and the more opportunity light will have to come into your room. And then say if you're sitting in your room with some sunglasses on because you just fancy and bougie AF, the more light that's coming into your room, the longer the light is coming into your room, the more sensitive your eyes will be to the settings of the room. So if your window is large and you have the shutters open for longer, then you definitely want to have your sunglasses on because your eyes will be more sensitive to the lighting. So hopefully that metaphor helps to understand the ISO, the shutter speed, and the aperture. When I first learned about it, I'm just like, what the heck are these things? And I also thought that they did not commingle and they work like independently. But as you are playing with your camera, as you are playing with visuals and pictures, you're gonna learn that they go hand in hand, and hopefully that metaphor helps you understand that. So once you do play with the shutter speed, you also need to adjust the aperture and you also need to adjust the ISO, which is always last. So now I'm gonna show you guys how I adjust my settings to make the exposure of the camera likable for my video. So as I mentioned, the first thing that I usually play with is the f-stop aperture. So I'm just gonna go ahead and lower this to 3.5, which is the lowest that it goes with the lens that I have on my camera right now. Then I'm going to go ahead and play with the shutter speed. So I'm going to go ahead and make it a little lower. I usually keep it at 1/125. So that's what we have right now. And then the last element that I'm going to adjust is the ISO. So right now we have it at 200 and it is kind of bright. So I'm going to go ahead and put it at 150. So this is the setting that I have right now for my videos. This is usually how I keep it. So hopefully this helps with everyone who does have a Sony A5100, anyone who is thinking of getting a Sony A5100 to record videos or also to take pictures on, or for anyone who has any camera and wants to get an understanding of the exposure triangle. This can help everyone. These are the main settings on almost every DSLR camera, digital camera, that you need in order to adjust the quality and get the best pictures and the best videos possible. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. You guys found it helpful. You guys understand the pros, cons of the Sony A5100, and you guys understand how to set up the exposure triangle for a camera that you are using to record videos, to take pictures. I hope you guys found this video helpful. I'll go ahead and put some related uploads that I have on the screen so that you guys can get caught up if you're not caught up already. Also, comment down below and let me know what other tech-related videos you guys would like to see on my channel. I know that on Instagram, a few people mentioned that they would like to see my entire tech collection because I do have a few cameras, a few accessories, etc., etc. So comment down below. Let me know what you guys would like to see. Let me know what other questions you guys have as far as recording videos and taking pictures. I will be more than glad to answer those questions for you all. Make sure you guys subscribe to my channel. Make sure you guys like this video. If you guys like this video, if you guys found it helpful, go ahead and give this video a big thumbs up. And until my next video, I will see you guys later.